In the last weeks, I've seen some videos on carb cycling, carb loading, cheat meals, and I wanted to give you my opinion of why this is so dangerous for us to do. Carb loading is when we eat a bunch of carbs before we do something strenuous. It could be a tournament, it could be a workout. Carb cycling is when they ask us to, every 2 weeks to a month, eat a higher carb count than would be keto or carnivore. And then we have cheat meals, cheat days, when we go over our 20 grams of carbs per day allotment. And this could happen weekly, it could happen bi-weekly, that depends on how often the person decides to do that. I want to start with carb loading because I want to help us to understand something. There's this idea that we walk around with our our glycogen stores not topped up. And I want us to understand that that's a myth. I'm not sure why we would think that, but in fact, if I'm not doing anything strenuous, my body is able to keep my glycogen stores pretty topped up. And every time that I do something, like if I run upstairs to go get something, or I'm folding some laundry, or just normal things that would use some glycogen, my body's going to replace it with very little issue. In reality, my body always has access to the sugar in my blood to top up glycogen storage. And if it really needs to get a lot of sugar back into storage, my body always has access to the fat on board that it theoretically could utilize to replenish me. But more likely, it's going to send me to go get food if I'm not in a ketogenic state, and that will be used to replenish me. So your body always has some ability to top up that storage whenever it feels like it. What we really do need to understand, though, is that although my body tops up my glycogen stores regularly, it doesn't have the ability to store more glycogen on me than my body already stores on me. And what that means is typically every one of us is walking around with about 1 day's worth of storage on our body. And that if we were to do really strenuous exercise, that would equal about 90 minutes of energy usage. But in the course of a normal day, that would last us more than all day because, like I said before, your body continually tops it up. Where we store extra energy that we eat, so if we carb load, where that energy goes is fat storage. Most people that are carb loading, so the typical average person doing a standard diet, doesn't have access to their fat storage when they're working out. That's why they hit that thing called the wall when they do any big exercise, because they can't dip into the onboard fat for extra energy. So now if we think about all the people that we know, I know quite a few, when they're going to the gym, before they go to the gym, they will eat some carby something because they need energy for the gym. What you don't realize that you're actually doing there is eating a carby something that your body's not going to use right away for that gym workout. In fact, what it's going to do, store it away as fat, and then use the glycogen stores that were already full for that workout. The example that I have in my mind that I feel exemplifies this the best is my ice machine at home. There's water in it, and it makes ice. And what's interesting is that if I put too much water in it, it still only makes enough ice to fill that tray. And then the water just kind of hovers around it, around the ice that was made. But it doesn't make extra ice and put it somewhere else. It can only make ice to fill that tray. And once the tray is full, the machine stops making ice. It's not making extra ice because I put extra water. Our body has a kind of similar, once the glycogen stores are full, they're full. And if it needs to do something else with the energy coming in, that goes to another system called fat storage. For those of us who do keto, what's important for us to understand is that every time we overeat our carbohydrates, we get kicked out of ketosis. If I get kicked out of ketosis and then try to eat 20 grams of carbs or less again, I've now opened the door that I could re-experience sugar withdrawal. And what's worse is that if I'm experiencing sugar withdrawal, that means that I've actually re-engaged my sugar addiction. That means I'm chasing sugar again. This is why so many people who try to do this carb cycling thing end up talking about having perpetual keto flu. You don't have perpetual keto flu. What you actually have is stepping in and out of your addiction, which means I'm stepping in and out of experiencing withdrawal symptoms over and over and over again. And when I talk to people who do this, the unfortunate reality is that many of them end up telling me that that's why they gave up doing keto. It was just too hard. They couldn't do it. But there's nothing about doing keto that's about stepping in and out of it all the time. I really want us all to understand that if standard Canadian diet, American diet, whatever standard diet you're doing caused you to gain weight, when you reintroduce those foods into your diet, you will gain weight. You will reintroduce inflammation and issues into your body. Your insulin resistance will return. All the negatives that you corrected by eating properly, when you reintroduce those poor quality foods, you're undoing the work that you did. And unfortunately, it can take weeks, even months for people to get back on track, because now we're struggling with that addiction again, and all the physiological and psychological issues will resume. Carb loading and workouts. Is it necessary? No. We actually produce more growth hormone during the fasted state. In fact, if you want to get the best possible workout, so many doctors have spoken about the fact that if you work out in a fasted state, more growth hormone is available and you will build more muscle, and you will advance faster than if you carb load, which is putting your body in a fat storage mode. It's putting your body, especially if you do it right before you go to work out, in a position where it's processing food. So it's not going to be able to process the workout properly because it's processing food. You're going to have a harder time in the gym. I also want to point out that when we talk about carb cycling and cheat meals, in fact, what we're really doing is giving ourselves permission to reintroduce the toxin that caused all of our health issues. Right? Every once in a while, I'm allowed to eat sugar and resume ruining my health. I want you to understand that that's not a good idea. It's not healthy. It's not towards your goal. As a matter of fact, it's the exact opposite of your goal. Not only are you risking your physical health, you're risking being addicted again, and you're very likely going to be upset with yourself. When you find yourself overeating whatever junk food that you have available to you longer than you thought you'd be doing it. This one cheat meal turns into a cheat week, a cheat month. This carb load before a workout becomes I'm eating junky stuff whether I'm working out or not. And because I'm so upset with myself, I end up self-soothing with food. What happens if we don't overeat our carbs? Most people that I've spoken to who aren't overdoing their carbs actually find themselves no longer craving carbohydrates. I know for sure that that happened to me. Within 2 weeks of being very strict 20 grams of carbs or less, after living day 3 and 4 really intense and really uncomfortable and withdrawal symptoms like you can't imagine, 2 weeks later, I couldn't care less that there was chocolate in the house. 2 weeks later, I couldn't care less that there was any kind of junk food in the house. I wasn't chasing bread. I wasn't chasing rice or pasta. 2 weeks later, all of the physiological pull towards those foods, gone. Psychologically, did I still think about chocolate when I got emotionally upset? Sure, that still happened. It took me a little while to not think about self-soothing with food, but the physiological habitual eat it every day was gone. That habit changed because I was no longer chasing carbohydrates. The other thing that started to happen was that the quality of the food that I was eating improved and improved and improved over time. Because now when I was choosing what I was going to eat, it wasn't based on fun foods. It was based on quality foods, because the pull to eat wasn't happening in a way that was causing me to feel like ravenous, causing me to feel like I need food now and like I was out of control. It was a calm, oh, I'm getting hungry. What am I having for supper? Oh, I'm getting hungry. What am I having for lunch? It wasn't this intense, need it immediately that I was living when I was doing the standard diet, getting home from work late at night and needing something like 20 minutes was not even a possibility for me. I was throwing something in the microwave. And I want you to understand that eating less carbohydrates, leading to less self-soothing with food, is not automatic, but it does happen. And the question is, why does it happen? Once that physical pull towards the carbs, so that physical pull towards the addiction of any kind, and we see this with alcohol, we see this with other things, when that pull, the physical pull, is not there, we are now able to see when the psychological pull is happening. When there's a problem that shows itself and I start thinking about eating some junk food, I notice it because the physical isn't happening. And what does that allow us to do? It allows us to intervene. When I see myself upset and all of a sudden I want to eat a chocolate bar, well, I know eating a chocolate bar isn't going to solve the argument I'm having with Joe. It's not going to solve that I don't have enough money to pay my whatever. And so eating the chocolate bar would just be hurting me unnecessarily. So you don't end up doing it. And by the way, I want to point out that when we eat for entertainment, so I'm bored, I'm going to eat something, that's still self-soothing with food. What you're soothing is the fact that you're bored, that you have nothing to do. We use food as a distraction, as a comfort, as a friend, but in fact, it's not any of those things. It's supposed to be to build the body and to fuel the body. And because we use it inappropriately, we need so much of it to accomplish this ridiculousness, right? It's not my friend. As soon as I finish eating it, I'm lonely again. So I got to eat some more and I got to eat some more. And because I'm never actually solving the problem. I need to solve the real problem. When we actually start using food the right way to build and fuel, it opens the door for us to then start finding real solutions to the real world problems that we're having. Once the addiction's under control, we can actually now find friends to spend time with, find hobbies to engage, learn a new instrument or try a new sport. We can do things to solve the real world problem, get an extra job so we can pay our bills. And rather than using food to self-soothe, we're engaging our world appropriately. I want to know if you guys have ever tried to carb cycle, carbo load, or have cheat meals. What impact did it have on your ability to resume your healthy lifestyle after the fact? I feel like if we share this information, we're going to be able to help each other, because I think so many of us fall into this mistake because we get this information from pretty reputable sources on some occasion that it's okay to do these things. And then when we're struggling, we're told that, well, we just didn't do it right. Eat food to fuel, entertain yourself with other things. Now, if you are ready to commit to eating 20 grams of carbs or less, this video is going to help you to track those carbohydrates appropriately. If you're new and you want to understand more about healthy living and how to lose weight, there are videos in the description. Share this video with someone that you care about, and I cannot wait to talk to you again next Thursday.